All right, on the talking point this evening, Nagaraj Yadav is Karnataka Congress spokesperson. Uday Mahurkar is Central Information Commissioner and author of Veer Savarkar. Rashid Kidwai is senior journalist and author. We'll also be joined by the BJP's Member of Parliament, Rakesh Sinha. Let me start with Uday Mahurkar. What is often cited, Mr. Mahurkar, by the Congress and by some left historians is that Veer Savarkar wrote at least 3 mercy pleas and pleas for pardon to the British while he was in the cellular jail in Kalapani in the Andamans. My question is, how would you counter this or how would you respond to this? Because this is the often cited argument by historians as well as opposition parties as to why they have a particular problem with Savarkar.
You see, Savarkar's actions cannot be weighed with the tools of Mahatma Gandhi. He was a follower of Chhatrapati Shivaji. His actions have to be evaluated in the backdrop of his beliefs. Now, you see, he had tendered 10 apologies, not less, 10, all put together, and he has not hidden this. He has mentioned it in his book Transportation for Life. He has mentioned this in another Marathi book called From the Darkness of Andaman. From the Darkness of Andaman, in that book he has explained as to how he used to tell his fellow prisoners, revolutionaries who were with him in the same jail, कि look here, there is no pointing rotting here, let us come out with this stratagem and then restart the fight against Britishers. And there is, you have to look at it with corroborative evidence also. You see, in 1914, a senior British official wrote a letter to the jail authorities telling them that according to the rule, if those prisoners who have passed 5 years in rigorous imprisonment, they should be allowed to live outside, which is near the sea coast in Andaman. That time, in the same letter he writes, don't give this, give this facility to Veer Savarkar, because Savarkar, I don't trust his mercy petitions. He has got revolutionary friends in Europe. His friends would bring a ship and hijack him from here. So Savarkar, you see, there is a Savarkar vilification campaign because as my book says, that Savarkar is the father of India's national security, because he predicted all the problems India has faced on the national security front in the last 75 years.
Okay.
Therefore, his vision is such, if it spreads in the future generation, then all those who subsist on divisive India, on divisive politics, for them it will be difficult to survive.
Okay. Let me ask Mr. Rakesh Sinha, Member of Parliament, what is happening in Karnataka in the run-up to the elections next year is there seems to be a dangerous positing that is happening. On the one hand, you are seeing posters of Savarkar being pulled down. You saw one in Shivamoga earlier this week. You're seeing one in Mangalore today. And you have another section trying to put up Tipu Sultan instead. You heard what Siddaramaiah, the former chief minister, said. You know, why were they putting up Savarkar posters? Why didn't they put up Tipu Sultan posters? Now, for some people, Tipu Sultan, and yes, there are 2 recorded facts of history. One is he did fight the British. There were at least 3 Anglo-Mysore wars. And there is also the equally true fact that Tipu Sultan butchered the Kodavas in Coorg. He also butchered the Hindu Nayars in Malabar. He also butchered the Mangalorean Christians, the Catholics in coastal Karnataka. So both of these facts are true. But this positing of Savarkar versus Tipu, which is clearly being done for electoral purposes, for political purposes, that is dangerous.
It may be election time, but there are 2 opposed narratives which are emerging in our horizon of idea. One narrative is being led by ideology of Savarkar, other narrative being led by the ideology of Tipu Sultan. And we have to re-examine both the ideologies. You know, the first narrative, as far as Savarkar is concerned, the nationalism in India is defined in terms of historically that you consider the land as a motherland. So it is not merely that you are fighting the Britishers, it is also important that how much you consider yourself inalienable from the Indian land. Indian people, our history, our legacies. When you are departing from the legacies, you are departing from the history, you are departing from the collective consciousness of the people, and you are fighting the British for the particular cause, for the governance, that is not going to define you as the freedom fighter. While you are fighting the Britishers, you are also killing your own people. You are converting your own people. So conversion and killing of the people don't justify you as a freedom fighter, as a patriot. Freedom fighter, prerequisite for the freedom fighter is being a patriotic consciousness, and patriotic consciousness requires that you have a feeling of harmony and a feeling of fraternity. Without fraternity, you cannot lead the freedom movement. You know, there is a very important fact: India's freedom movement and Africa's freedom movement. In all other aspects, we are superior to them, but in one aspect, we are very inferior to Africa's freedom movement. African freedom movement had emphasized on cultural freedom, freedom of idea, linguistic autonomy. You see the freedom movement of any African countries. They fought against apartheid. They fought against the cultural hegemony of the Britishers. Here is the Congress since 1885 to 1947, they passed 323 resolutions on minority question, but they had not passed a single resolution on the British domination on our culture, our language, our ideas. That is the reason
Professor
that
Sinha,
Savarkar becomes very important.
The larger question that's being asked is that Savarkar's ideals oftentimes did not sit with the Indian National Congress's ideas and ideals, and particularly Mahatma Gandhi's ideas and ideals of non-violence. That is the basic contention, and therefore the Congress party, who are the inheritors of Gandhi and Nehru and so on, they are saying that Savarkar's ideas did not sit with the ideas that eventually got freedom for India.
Does it mean that 28 people who were martyred in 28 September 1942 in Odisha, they are out of the freedom movement because they didn't match with Mahatma Gandhi's ideas? Asti and Chimur in Maharashtra, 31 people killed in a single day. 7 children in Patna, Har Gobind, Ram Gobind, Ramanand Sinha, Umakant, Satish Jha, Jagatpati, these 7 children who were hoisting national flag at the Patna Secretariat and were killed and martyred, are they not the part of the freedom movement?
Okay.
And the Baji Raut, who led the movement in Orissa, 12-year-old Baji Raut, is not the part of the freedom movement. So Mahatma Gandhi had a very important role. His philosophy of non-violence was very important. But those who took the resort of the violence, they are equally great people. They fought for the motherland, and the use of the violence against the British regime cannot be demeaned.
Okay.
Cannot be devalued.
Let me ask
I think
Nagaraju Yadav.
that was a moral.
You know.